Hi, I'm Pinyao. On behalf of my colleagues at Simon Fraser University, I'll present our paper, Virtual Flying Dream. When I was 7 years old, I had this most memorable dream, where I was jumping off stairs. Gravity just disappeared, and I started to float in the air. It was a moment of wonder and freedom. And the funniest part is, as a kid, I didn't know it was a dream, right? So for a long time, no matter what difficulty I encountered, I would tell myself, hey, it's okay because you got this secret superpower that others don't have. Now, with virtual reality, we hope to bring this superpower to everyone. This motivated our overarching research question. How could a VR flying experience support feelings of dream flying, especially empowerment, confidence in our ability to succeed, and self-transcendence, where we lost the boundary between self and others and experience connectedness with something greater, associated with particular emotions such as awe and wonder? To answer this question, we looked at previous VR experiences that support our desired user emotions. For empowerment, the closest study we can find is Virtual Superheroes. It suggests acquiring the superhero ability to fly in VR increased help behavior. For self-transcendence, one example is awe experience, where designers elicit feelings of awe and wonder through overview effect, seeing Earth from outer space. This literature leads to our first research question: can a dream-inspired VR flying experience support feelings of dream flying? If so, we may discover and validate a new way of contributing to empowerment and self-transcendence. In Flying Dream, one key concept associated with flying is self-motion illusion. Similarly, in VR, some novel flying interfaces, such as leaning-based interfaces, could provide self-motion cures that support this illusion. So we roughly classified existing flying interfaces into 3 categories. With hand controller, you navigate through space with the joysticks or touchpad. With Superman gesture, you stretch your arm towards desired direction and control speed by moving the controllers away or towards your body. With leaning-based or wing gesture, one example is birdly, where you embody a bird and flap arm to fly. Another example is head joystick, where you lean towards desired direction for virtual motion. We roughly mapped these interfaces on a spectrum of embodiment on an ordinal scale, with no doubt hand controller on the left is the least embodied interface, while birdly on the right is the most embodied interface. But birdly is also the least affordable one, so we consider head joystick as the most balanced option for a high embodied interface. Now, it looks like a no-brainer to choose the most embodied interface for the experience, head joystick. However, there is a long existing tension between familiarity and embodiment in user interfaces. In a recent study, the standard handheld controllers has been rated as more comfortable, intuitive, and easy to use among the latest prevalent locomotion interfaces, while most novel leaning-based interfaces, such as head joystick, may make users feel unsafe and easier to induce physical fatigue. This leads to our second research question. Does a more embodied locomotion interface better support feelings of dream flying? And we decided to compare these 2 interfaces to answer this question. And finally, because this is an exploratory study in its nature, we wonder what new design guidelines or knowledge we can derive from the study, specifically for flying dreams. We adopted a counterbalance within subject design. 2 groups of participants went through each condition in reversed order with 1 week in between to minimize carryover effect. We adopted a mixed methods approach with the quantitative component to measure self-transcendence and empowerment, and the qualitative component to better understand the meaningful qualities of a virtual flying dream. For our experience, first we invited participants into a dark room with cushion, fabrics, and ambient light, and asked them to retrieve memory of a flying dream or imagine themselves flying for 2 minutes. This is designed to help participants slow down and transition to the VR experience. Then participants put on a VR headset and went on a journey through 4 stages. First, you will find yourself in a dark bedroom designed for familiarity and transition. You will then slowly float up through the ceiling into an abstract, lifeless landscape. In the second stage, you will fly among an ocean of clouds. You will fly higher and go through clouds and enter space, the third stage. Along your journey, several flocks of glowing creatures will lead the way. A blue halo and auroras in the far distance will guide you to the final stage of the journey. From the blue light, a tree of light would grow, and as you get closer to the tree, you immerse yourself into the light. Finally, the tree would transform into a light bridge, and you would fly along with the flocks of creatures towards the earth. The world faded to black, and you find yourself back in the bedroom. After the experience, we conducted semi-structured interviews and distilled 3 main themes. In extraordinary lights, many participants voiced a desire to approach and assimilate. I feel like an insect, and I'm naturally attracted to light. I saw the constant change of light, and I would really like to assimilate into it. And many participants referred to their encounter with the Tree of Light as the most awe-inspiring moment. P1 reported, "The universe merges with me, and then I feel that the whole world is so big. I'm very small, and I feel like a star." In embodied flying, P1 highlighted the distinction between the 2 interfaces. For head joystick, flying is my own ability. I feel I'm a flying animal. For hand controller, I was on a boat or in a hot air balloon. In engagement, P4 reflected on how the transition part contributed to the dreamlike experience. For more details on qualitative results, please look at our paper. And then, in quantitative analysis, participants rate feeling of empowerment with head joystick as significantly higher than hand controller. For self-transcendence, we've used 3 markers. Non-dual awareness is characterized by boundaries dissolution, and we saw that for head joystick, it's significantly higher. And there's also a trend of higher connectedness and lower sense of awe for head joystick. So, what are some key takeaways? First, we found that though participants do report standard hand controllers is easier to use, the embodied interfaces have a more dominant effect on emotional experience. Second, while empowerment denotes a feeling of power, awe often include a sense of powerless. Though our results show that they are not mutually exclusive, there seems to be a tension in between, and we suggest it's the perceived agency balancing this tension. We also identified self-motion as a key mediator to both empowerment and self-transcendence, which echo with the notion of movement efficacy in transcendent flying dreams. And finally, we saw parallel between our pre-VR setting and specific dream stimulation techniques like targeted reactivation. This again highlights the importance of a supportive setting. Thank you for listening.